Hi, my name is Denise, and I hiked the John Muir Trail in 15 days. Our journey began with a bus ride to Amine Meadows, where we would begin our journey. We took our before photo and enjoyed our last moments of being clean and started off on the trail. We hiked around 11 miles on our very first day, and for the most part, it was fairly relaxing with only 2,000 feet of elevation to climb. Our goal for the day was to hike up to Lyle Pond, which was right below Donahue Pass, our first major pass of the trip. We were surrounded by beautiful alpine meadows, creeks, and alpine lakes, which made for an epic start to our journey. We had a fairly slow start the next morning and crossed over Donahue Pass. We continued on to Thousand Island Lakes, where we had an incredible lunch view of Banner Peak. After lunch, we continued on to Garnet Lake, which would ultimately be our second campsite of the trip.
I lived there in 6 weeks and 20.
The views at the lake were absolutely stunning, and I enjoyed hopping between islands just to get a better view of Banner Peak. That evening, I got to see one of the most beautiful sunsets I ever laid my eyes upon, and I knew that this trip would be something that I would never forget. The next morning, we got up early to leave Garnet Lake and have our very first hard day on the trail. Our goal for the day was to climb up to a series of high alpine lakes near the Minarets, right before reaching Red's Meadows. Hiking by myself right now. The group has split up based on pace, but our goal for today is to make it to the Red's Meadows and have a Corona and shower maybe and just relax before our next big push. But it should be good. Very quiet and serene on the trail. The Minarets blew us away, and we were able to swim in some of the alpine lakes as we went up and down the trail. The climb up to the Minaret Lakes was no joke, and we ended up getting to Red's fairly later than we expected. I didn't really capture any footage or video at Red's. The only thing that really was impressive was the hot springs, but otherwise it was a pretty dusty place. The next day. We've been walking for about an hour from Red's. It's a big day today. I think we're aiming for 20 miles. But yeah, so far most of the climbing has been in the beginning and in the shade, which is nice. Pretty serene in the forest, creek nearby. Feeling good today. That creek wouldn't really last very long, and this would end up being one of the driest parts of the trail, which kind of freaked me out.
After 20 miles of hiking and a lot of switchbacks, we camped for the night at Fish Creek, which ended up being kind of our worst campsite. We got up early the next morning to cross over Goodall Pass and make our way to Vermilion Valley Resort, also known as VVR.
There's a lot of bugs today, but we're very close to our next resupply place called VVR, and I'm very happy because these last 2 days have been very hard. Long days with lots of elevation gain. Excited to take a shower, do some laundry, eat some real food. Just want some orange soda. I don't even know why I'm so addicted to orange soda right now. Yeah, that's all I want. Enjoying the shade.
The last couple of miles would be especially rough, walking through a recently burned forest and trails that were not in good shape. But we made it to VVR and got our food resupply. The next day was a little bit rough as we had to get back on the JMT with 7 days worth of food on our backs. We took it slow and enjoyed some nice leisurely time by Bear Creek. We'd ended up spending the night at Marie Lake, which was a very beautiful lake filled with several peaks around us. And that's right, here you go. Here's finally a tent tour. This is the inside of my tent. There's my bed. There's all my stinky clothes. And there's where I put my pack. And yeah, that concludes this tent tour.
That pot, everything goes in the pot. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't the flavor ever, no?
Huh?
When you make your coffee in the morning, does it ever taste like,
I w-
stinky cheese?
We got up the next morning to climb over Selden Pass and continue forward on our journey.
Day 7. We are going to Evolution Meadows, or a little bit past that because there might be mosquitoes there. But we're well past 80 miles now, which is crazy. Everything is really pretty here. A little bit of a cold morning, but so far so good.
This would be our entry point into Kings Canyon National Park, which would end up being one of our hottest days on trail. We enjoyed some leisurely breaks by the river right before entering our campsite for the night. This would be our last dry night for a while. Our goal for the day was to hike 11 miles into Evolution Basin, but our plans changed thanks to a sudden rainstorm. This rainstorm had hail and lightning, so it kind of freaked us out. So we made camp by Evolution Lake, 6 miles short of our goal for the day. The clouds loomed in the direction we needed to head towards, and we got sprinkled on throughout the evening, which made this day not the best. We We got up early the next morning to beat the storms and cross over Muir Pass, which ended up being an incredible experience.
Day 9. We are over 100 miles. We've passed Muir Pass and we're doing all right. A couple of rainstorms and lightning and hail, but for the most part we're dried off at this point. Heading down to lower ground, escaping those scary ominous clouds you can see in the background.
It didn't take long for another rainstorm to come by, and we had to take refuge in another cave. We managed to make up the miles we lost the day before and ended up camping at Grouse Creek, which was fairly relaxing until we had some evening thunderstorms that lasted all night.
Last night we had a pretty epic thunderstorm. Kept us all awake a little bit in our tents. But hopefully those storms have passed and we get finally a dry day, because everything in my pack is damp, which is annoying. Today we go to the Palisades.
Getting into the Palisades was no easy feat thanks to the Golden Staircase, but we had a relatively short day overall and enjoyed an incredible sunset. We woke up early the next morning to cross over Mather Pass and continue on our journey.
Oh snap!
We ended up having another short day and ended up camping at Lake Marjorie. Another morning, another pass. We hiked over Pinchot Pass and continued. The last couple of days on the JMT had a fairly regular routine. Climb over a mountain pass that was over 10,000 feet, climb back down to 8,500 feet, only to go back up to 10,000 feet to cross over another pass. The hike into Ray Lakes was pretty challenging thanks to the heat, but we were rewarded with beautiful alpine lake views. After taking some time to find a campsite, we enjoyed one final dinner with 2 hiking friends we made on trail and enjoyed the views of Ray Lake and the several peaks that surrounded it. The next morning, we woke up early and said farewell to our 2 hiking friends as we progressed on to climb over Glen Pass.
Vacation.
Glen Pass ended up being a slog, but we made it to the top and continued on our journey. We made it to the junction near Charlotte Lake, where we awaited our final food resupply.
Or this is the people doing that guided trip, dude, I'm telling you. Their day packs.
This is not us.
After a little bit of drama with the meal resupply, we continued forward on our last couple of days of the JMT. Along came the awaited Forester Pass, the largest pass on the JMT. And surprisingly, it wasn't as bad compared to Glen.
These are intense.
We originally had planned to have 2 nights prior to our final summit day at Whitney, but since the area was pretty arid past Forester, we pushed on to Guitar Lake. It was a long and hot day with limited water sources, but we pushed on just to get closer to that Whitney summit. And like that, we were at our very last campsite of the JMT. We left camp at 6:10 a.m. to start our final ascent of Mount Whitney. And by 8:45 a.m., we had reached the summit and finished the JMT. After 15 long days and over 200 miles, our journey was coming to an end.